all means, feel free to take other breaks as needed. That said, we have a full morning of interesting and exciting programs ahead. To get us started, it's my honor and pleasure to welcome and introduce Nancy Sutton and Megan Fallon to help us kick off our event. Nancy received her bachelor's degree in nutritional sciences from the University of Rhode Island and her master's degree in nutritional sciences from the University of Vermont. She has been the chief of the Center for Chronic Care and Disease Management within the Rhode Island Department of Health since 2016 and has worked in public health since 1990. Her work has focused on the prevention and management of chronic diseases, including cancer, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, Alzheimer's, arthritis, and asthma. Nancy works with programs internal and external to the department to integrate key elements across chronic disease programs and throughout larger system level initiatives. She provides policy leadership to address the social and environmental determinants of health to achieve health equity and eliminate health disparities as it pertains to chronic disease. And Megan Fallon-Sheridan is my co-chair for the Rhode Island World Diabetes Day Planning Committee. Megan is a registered dietitian and alumna to the University of Rhode Island, where she received her master's degree in nutrition and food sciences. Megan started her career at the Rhode Island Department of Health in 2017 as the Health Systems Intervention Manager with the Diabetes, Heart Disease, and Stroke Program. As the HSI manager, Megan worked directly with federally qualified health centers and free clinics to integrate key elements of chronic disease prevention and management into policies, workflow design, and utilization of clinical quality measures. However, since the onset of the pandemic, Megan has been serving as the program administrator for Rhode Island Department of Health's Diabetes, Heart Disease, and Stroke Program. In this role, she oversees 2 cooperative agreements funded by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention for the prevention and management of diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. At this time, please help me welcome my esteemed colleagues, Nancy Sutton and Megan Fallon-Sheridan, to kick off this event.
Thank you, Deb, for that kind introduction. And hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to Rhode Island's World Diabetes Day 2021 event. Before I begin, I want to start by providing a big thank you to the World Diabetes Day Planning Committee. This is it's a half day, but it's months of work. So I really, truly want to acknowledge them for all of the work that they put into this, including Deb and Megan Fallon-Sheridan for their co-leadership. Of course, thanking all of our sponsors and the speakers today who have volunteered their time to share their expertise with us this morning. And a special thank you to Representative Grace Diaz for her driving force and continued support of World Diabetes Day since 2006. Again, my name is Nancy Sutton, and I am the chief of the Center for Chronic Care and Disease Management within the Department of Health. And as Deb has already described, the center has several programs that address Alzheimer's, arthritis, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension. These programs are responsible for the development and execution of initiatives and partnerships with communities, healthcare, and work sites. We focus on quality improvement of healthcare, access to resources to manage chronic diseases, education through policy, workshops, and events like today's World Diabetes Day. But today we focus on diabetes. As you all know, too often diabetes goes undiagnosed until complications arise, and it's a major cause of blindness, kidney failure, heart attacks, strokes, limb amputations, as well as being a risk factor for other conditions such as Alzheimer's disease. Diabetes is costly, complicated, and a disease that impacts millions of people throughout the country. According to the CDC, as of 2018, an estimated 34.1 million US adults had diabetes, with over 7 million of those remaining undiagnosed. While diabetes has been on the rise for many years, the past year and a half has been a wake-up call. As I'm sure you all know, people living with diabetes are at increased risk of severe complications from COVID-19, with significant disparities between races and ethnicities. In addition, health services, supplies, of medications for people with diabetes have been significantly disrupted due to the pandemic. We can and we must do better. The three leading priorities of the Department of Health drive our work. They are address socioeconomic and environmental determinants of health, eliminate health disparities and promote health equity, ensure access to quality health services for Rhode Islanders, including our most vulnerable populations. The work of the Diabetes, Heart Disease, and Stroke Program and the theme of today's event, Access to Diabetes Care, aligns with the mission of the Rhode Island Department of Health to protect and promote the health of all Rhode Islanders. This year, our work took on heightened importance as we faced a global pandemic. On top of staff being deployed to the COVID response in the center, we crafted and published chronic disease messages on social media related to management and prevention of chronic diseases, adapted chronic disease education workshops from in-person to virtual, strengthened public health, and worked closely with our colleagues at Rhode Island Medicaid and across state government on piloting initiatives to improve community clinical linkages, community resilience, and health equity. And lastly, through the continuation of education and awareness campaigns like the Rhode Island World Diabetes Day today, we move through this pandemic and plan for a brighter tomorrow by promoting healthy behaviors and resources for diabetes management. So in summary, the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted persistent and new challenges for those living with diabetes that has required our collective and urgent action. It also created fertile ground for innovation and working across sectors to support Rhode Islanders in need. I'm very much looking forward to today's event, which is promising to be an exciting day that celebrates scientific advances, uplifting stories, and resources at our fingertips that will change lives for the better. Thank you all for your support and your participation today in this event. I now have the privilege of handing the mic over to my colleague and the lead of all the great work being done within the Department of Health with the diabetes team, Megan Fallon-Sheridan, who will expand more on this work. Thank you. Enjoy the day.
Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate that. To echo your sentiments, I'm proud to be part of this diabetes care village, if you will, through the planning and launch of Rhode Island World Diabetes Day each year. Today's event is so important, and I'm grateful to our many partners who continue to step forward to support and advocate for diabetes care. My name is Megan Fallon-Sheridan, and I am the Program Administrator for RIDOH's Diabetes, Heart Disease, and Stroke Program. Our program is entirely funded by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and our most recent 5-year funding cycle was awarded on September of 2018. And we were awarded 2 grants for the prevention and management of diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. And there are several strategies within each grant that charge us with scaling and sustaining the National Diabetes Prevention Program in Rhode Island's communities, improving access to and participation in diabetes self-management education and support services provided by certified diabetes outpatient educators, and assisting healthcare organizations in implementing systems to identify and better manage people with or at risk of developing diabetes. World Diabetes Day is one way in which we promote our work and the importance of diabetes care. Most of you participating in today's event have been directly affected by diabetes, either personally or through a loved one. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our 15th annual event, and it's the second year Rhode Island World Diabetes Day is being offered virtually. If you're new to our World Diabetes Day event, welcome. Allow me to give some facts about this condition for those who are new to joining or are here to learn more. Diabetes refers to a group of conditions characterized by a high level of blood glucose, commonly referred to as blood sugar. Too much blood sugar in the blood causes serious, sometimes life-threatening health problems. And there are 2 types of chronic diabetes conditions. Type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune condition where your body stops producing insulin. You're then unable to control your blood glucose, which increases to dangerously high levels. And type 2 diabetes, which is a chronic disease where your body doesn't use insulin well and can't keep blood sugar at normal levels. About 90 to 95% of people with diabetes have type 2 diabetes. It develops over many years and usually is diagnosed in adults, but we're seeing higher rates of type 2 diabetes among children, teens, and young adults, which is alarming. Type 2 diabetes can be prevented or delayed with healthy lifestyle changes, such as eating healthy food and being active. I also want to mention that pregnant women may acquire a transient form of the disease called gestational diabetes, which occurs during pregnancy and usually goes away after the birth of the baby. And prediabetes is when blood sugar levels are at a borderline. They're higher than normal, but lower than an actual diabetes range. Prediabetes may or may not progress to diabetes. In 2020, 10.3% of Rhode Island adults reported having diabetes. That's 1 in 10 adults without even estimating undiagnosed cases. According to the CDC, 1 in 3 Americans have prediabetes, but only 10% have been diagnosed. This means that about 294,000 Rhode Islanders have diabetes and most don't know it. The data we have available also indicates disparities in diabetes prevalence. In other words, we see high rates of diabetes among Hispanic and Black non-Hispanic adults, and among those who do not have a high school degree, have incomes at or below the federal poverty line, and or are insured by public health insurance such as Medicare and Medicaid. Diabetes is expensive for all patients despite health insurance. Rhode Island adults with diabetes report frequent financial strain by self-reporting concerns such as affording nutritious meals, paying off medical bills, or not being able to see a medical provider due to cost in the past year. Managing diabetes, type 1 with insulin or type 2 diabetes with or without insulin is a 24/7 job for those with a condition, and in many cases, their families as well. I hope today's event is informative and insightful, empowering you all to overcome the challenges associated with diabetes. Thank you and have a great day. Debbie, I'm passing it over to you.
Thank you, Nancy and Megan, for kicking off this exciting day and for all your hard work and support in helping us raise awareness around diabetes. Throughout the pandemic, chronic care and disease management have been so important for public health efforts, outreach, and for listening to better understand how we can better help our community stay healthy. We did not want this 2021 World Diabetes Day to pass us by, not even with the continuation of a pandemic, without doing everything we could to keep raising awareness about diabetes and to connect more people to the tools and care they need to live their best and healthiest lives. Now more than ever, that's so important. As I mentioned, there are many people to thank for making today possible, and you'll keep meeting many of them throughout this program. You'll also see logos from our generous sponsors. Please join us in thanking them all for also helping to make this day of celebration and support possible. The Rhode Island Department of Health, Diabetes Education Partners of Rhode Island, the Rhode Island Certified Diabetes Outpatient Educators, Novo Nordisk, AstraZeneca, Xeris Pharmaceuticals, Dexcom, Prevention Bio, the Rhode Island Parent Information Network, Neighborhood Health Plan of Rhode Island, and Representative Grace Diaz. At this time, we are going to take just a 3-minute break. We will take breaks throughout the day after each speaker, and you won't want to miss any moment of our next speaker. So please join us back here at 9:15. You actually have 2 minutes. So take a 2-minute break and we'll be right back at 9:15. Thank you. Okay, we're back. As a reminder for anyone just logging on with us today for the first time, to submit questions for our session leaders, please use the chat box. Except for myself and the speakers, all participants will be on mute. And now to get us started, we have Melissa Porricelli here to introduce our national speaker. Melissa has worked for Novo Nordisk, a global leader in diabetes research and development, for the past 10 years. She is currently a regional account manager where she specializes in diabetes and weight management, assisting health systems, payers, and employers, and working to improve patient access to life-saving medications in the Northeast area. Melissa is new to our Rhode Island World Diabetes Day Planning Committee this year, and we are so thankful to have her join us, bringing her talents and resources to this year's event. Melissa loves to support community events that support patients and families living with diabetes. Thank you for being here today, Melissa.
Thank you, Deb, for that great introduction. It's really been so great working with Rhode Island World Diabetes Day. And it's really my pleasure to introduce one of Novo Nordisk Patients Ambassadors, JC Aragone. JC is living with type 1 diabetes. He is a professional tennis player. In fact, he's on tour right now, and he's here to tell you his story. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to JC.
Hey everyone, hope everyone can hear me. Thank you, Melissa, for the great introduction. So like she said, my name is JC, and I know it's a little early, but I just want to kind of kick this off with a little story, and I'm super excited to be here. So hopefully in the future I get to meet all of you in person. And just to kick things off, so a couple years ago, I decided to go to Melbourne, Australia. It was for my first ever Australian Open, and I've never been, and I just remember traveling from Miami to Melbourne. It's about 35 hours, and I get there and I am so jet lagged, I am so tired, and I have to get ready to play my match. And I do something that I kind of do before every match, is I kind of visualize, you know, what I want to do, kind of the game plan to help take the stress out. And I decided that if I win the coin toss, I want to go ahead and start serving. I think I have a great serve and kind of want to just use that momentum to get going. I end up winning the coin toss, and I just remember I go to hit my first serve, and I toss the ball up, and I swear I'm looking up and I cannot see anything. There's this massive sun that's just blocking pretty much everything. But at this point, I've already committed. I've already tossed the ball. I'm, you know, halfway through my swing, and I end up swinging, and I completely whiff the ball. I mean, I'm telling you in front of you guys, like in front of a packed Australian Open crowd, they're all laughing. My opponent has no idea what just happened. I have no idea what just happened. You know, my 20-some years of tennis, I've never once whiffed a ball, let alone the first point of a tennis match. But I have a couple seconds in between my first and second serve to kind of make a couple adjustments, and I decide, all right, I'm going to toss the ball a little bit to my left, try to get around the sun, and I end up throwing the ball up. You know, might have said a prayer on the way up, and I end up swinging, and thankfully I made contact and ball went in and everything went great. Now I know there might be some of you here who have never played tennis, and maybe there's some of you here who have, so you know exactly how embarrassing it is to whiff a ball. But the reason I'm telling you guys this is because regardless of tennis, I think we've all whiffed at some point in our lives, whether it's, you know, in a job interview or on an exam, or in my case, you know, with a bolus, I whiff all the time. And it's all about how we adapt and adjust. And that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. So my story began in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I was born there, and at the age of 5, I picked up my first tennis racket, and I've loved it ever since. When I was 8, my family decided to move myself and my brother all the way to California, which was extremely difficult at such a young age because the language barrier, we really didn't have any friends or family to lean on. So I turned to tennis as sort of this escape that I would run home every day after school, and I would practice with my dad, and it helped me build this amazing bond that I still have with him today. But I kept practicing, and I shortly, I became one of the top juniors in the US. And I then decided I wanted to move to Florida to live and train at the US National Training Center. This was really where my first, professional aspirations came to be. And at the time, tennis was really my entire life. When I got there, and shortly after, I became just extremely sick. I ended up having this this allergic reaction to a medication I was taking, and I immediately had to fly back home and go straight to the emergency room. When I got to the emergency room, I fell straight into a coma. I had kidney failure, liver failure, and I basically had to fight for my life for the next several months. Eventually, I started getting better, and this was right around the time when the doctors told me, I could go home, but I was basically in bed rest for weeks. I couldn't really leave, and I really had to adapt to this new phase because, just imagine, I was, a couple months ago, I was the most active person ever, and now I'm being told that I basically have to stay in bed for weeks on end. And after a couple of weeks went by, I just couldn't take anymore. I had to get back to playing tennis, and I really didn't care what anyone else told me. And that process of getting back to tennis was so difficult. And I don't know, maybe I was just young, but we think we're invincible, but I thought it was going to be easy. I thought, I've played tennis my whole life, I'm just going to pick up right where I left off. And I was so wrong. Being sick for so long had so many repercussions. I just remember picking up the tennis racket for the first time, and I swear it felt like a brick. My muscles had basically atrophied from being in bed rest for so long, and my feet would not coordinate like they used to. I would practice for about 10, 15 minutes and I'd have to stop. But, I'm a persistent guy, so I kept pushing, and a couple months down the road, I started feeling a little better. But at the same time, I had to constantly adapt to, this being my new normal, as I was not even close to my peak tennis or physical shape. But after, months went down, I wanted to get back to competing. That's what I did my entire life, and I needed to get back to playing tennis. So I found a tennis tournament that goes on always at that time. It's called Kalamazoo. It's one of the biggest junior tournaments in the US. And every year they award the winner a walk-on in the US Open. So it's a big deal. And the year before, I had made the semifinals. And, when they found out that I wanted to play, they called me up after everything and said, we'll get you a wild card. You can fly down and play. That was kind of the easy part. Now, the hard part was trying to convince my mom to let me fly across the country after the last several months of, what I put her through. And to make matters worse, I was still so heavily medicated. So I couldn't, I had no immune system. I couldn't really afford to get sick. But I kept, being persistent, and finally she caved. But it was on one condition. I don't know where she read this, but she read somewhere online that if I put just a ton of antibiotic cream in my nose, I wouldn't get sick on a plane. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I walk into this plane with what looked like 2 tubefuls of antibiotic cream in my face. And you guys know the feeling now, but to make matters worse, if anyone coughed, sneezed, or blew their nose, she gave them this stare that scared the whole plane. But I was just happy to get there and get going. And, when I make it to Kalamazoo, I start feeling sick again, but this time it's totally different. I have this raging headache, and I'm going to the bathroom every 5 minutes. I just feel so bad. So thankfully I ended up losing, and we fly right back home and go straight to the ER yet again. This was when the doctors informed me that I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. My initial reactions, I was positive, but I was also confused. I was, you guys might say, why was you positive? It was crazy. But I was positive because, I just survived a coma. I found a way back to tennis. I knew that, I didn't care what they told me. It was just going to be a bump on the road. I was going to figure it out, and I was going to get back to playing tennis. But at the same time, like millions of people, I had no clue what type 1 diabetes was. of course, I had to put my tennis career on pause again until I figured out how I was going to adapt to living with and managing my type 1. I felt like time flew by and I had really no answers. Eventually, I slowly started playing tennis again. And this was right before going to college. And I decided I kind of wanted to pause my professional dreams and go to college. And at the time, the University of Virginia was recruiting me. They had the #1 program in the country, and academically they were amazing. So I wanted to go there, and the coach really believed that after all that I kind of went through, it was actually going to make me both a better player and a better person. And that for me was more than enough to decide to go there. Now I know what some of the parents here are probably thinking: how in the world did his mom let him basically leave home from California to move to Virginia to live by himself right after being diagnosed type 1? And, being the 17-year-old kid that I was, I didn't think about it, but now I'm kind of thinking like she must have been crazy. But it took a lot of adapting as well from my parents' part, because if it wasn't for, how supportive they were, I would not be able to be here talking to you guys today. So she let me go. And I just remember, I'm so stubborn, but when I get to UVA, I just decided that I was going to figure out diabetes and I was going to solve it, and it was going to be easy, and we're just going to get, rip the Band-Aid off. And I was so wrong, because I got there and I tried everything. And I quickly learned that, there's no exact formula for type 1 diabetes. Rather, it was all about adapting and adjusting day in and day out to what my body needed. At UVA, I also had to figure out how I was going to play competitive tennis while managing my type 1. And it was super stressful, because in a tennis match, I have 60 seconds in between every changeover, which is really 2 games, to check my blood sugar, see if I need to make any adjustments, if I need insulin, if I need to eat some sugar, while at the same time trying to figure out how I'm going to win this match. And it was a super stressful period. But I have to give a lot of credit to the doctors at UVA and sports medicine, because it was because of them that I was able to kind of overcome that. It actually took a lot of adapting also from my doctor's side. When I first went to see them, their main goal was just to have me living a healthy life, managing my type 1. And they had to adapt to treating me as a high performance athlete who also is living with type 1. And that changed my life dramatically. It also was at UVA that, UVA was great for me for both my tennis and my diabetes. And it was at UVA where I first opened up about my diabetes. Now I think it's crazy, but for about 4 years, I didn't tell anybody besides my, really close teammates and kind of support group. I didn't tell anyone. And I didn't want anyone to feel bad for me or think I, had some sort of limitation. And it was because of the amazing experiences and relationships at UVA that I decided I had to open up and tell people my story and just try to help. So I ended up graduating UVA, a 3-time national champion, having made some amazing relationships and learned a ton about myself, both as a student athlete and as a type 1. But now, I get in this weird phase of what am I going to do? Am I going to play professional tennis? Am I going to get a job? And after, talking to my support system and kind of evaluating everything, I kept coming back to the same conclusion that no matter what life threw at me, I always found a way back to tennis. And I knew I owed it to myself to at least give it a shot. So as soon as I decided, I hit the ground running. I went 0 to 1,000. I went all over Europe. I went to Canada. I traveled all through the US, and I hadn't realized how much of an impact traveling has on a type 1. In college, we had everything catered to us. I had the trainers there in case I had any sort of problem with my blood sugar. I had my teammates there to lean on to if I was just having a bad day with my blood sugar, just in order to help. And on tour, I was by myself. And to make it worse, in college, we didn't really have any travel, especially not international. So I had to quickly learn to adapt and adjust and be more prepared to all these different situations. The different climate change, the different time zones had a huge impact. Just the sheer stress of traveling. And I had to quickly make these adjustments. But after about 10 weeks of just intense traveling, I climbed up the ranks and I was awarded a walk hard into the US Open qualifying. This was really my first ever professional Grand Slam. So I was, you can imagine, so excited, at the same time, so nervous. And I get there and I find a way to get through one super tough match and then another. And next thing I know, I've won 3 amazing matches and I'm in the main draw. I ended up playing Kevin Anderson, who was a number 8 player in the world, and he ended up making the finals that year. So I must have been good luck or something. And this week really helped me in many ways, but 2 really key important things. For one, it solidified, the fact that I can play with these top players in the world. I have the tennis. But I think most importantly was the second, that it really opened my eyes to advocating. Before I wanted to help and I knew that was kind of my goal, but I didn't really experience it. And that week I got so many messages and letters and people reaching out, basically telling me how I was an inspiration to them. And I hadn't realized how many people do struggle to play sports while managing their type 1. So that for me was kind of the first stepping stone to deciding that I want to advocate, and it's one of the reasons I'm here with you guys today. Now, I know, some of you guys think, he's probably got it figured out. And to be honest with you, I'm still figuring it out every single day. I'm trying to figure it out, making adjustments and adapting. But regardless of everything I've been through, I've tried to keep my head up and I've stayed positive through everything. I think a lot of people don't realize just how difficult it is living with type 1 or type 2. So to anyone here who has diabetes, or even if you're part of the diabetes community in any way, shape, or form, I think that if we stick together, we can get through it all. So I really hope that through my story, I've been able to inspire you guys and hopefully motivate you to keep pushing no matter what life throws at you. And, thank you guys for having me here. I wish I can meet some of you in person and do this, but this for me is always fun to do. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to my story.
Thank you so much, JC. What a heartfelt and inspiring story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. There was one question I saw that came up, and it was, can you talk about the nutrition or energy program you follow to be able to keep up with your training?
Oh, I feel like that could be a whole nother session for another day. But I think, again, this is kind of what I talked about earlier. There's things that work for me that might not work for everyone. I think it's all about kind of figuring it out each little day, even trying different things. I don't think there's exactly one method that's going to work for me, for you, for everyone. I think it's about, finding something that works. Obviously, you have to know kind of your boundaries. I know when it comes to nutrition, what I'm looking for. I know for sports drinks, for example, I'm looking for clean. A lot of times I need an option with sugar and one without, because there's some times that I go on the court where I'm super stressed and I know my blood sugar is naturally going to go up. So I need an option on that end. And then there's some times where my blood sugar goes low. So having different things that kind of work for you, I think is what's important. I don't necessarily think there's one right answer to, okay, you need to eat this and it's going to make you, feel this much better. I think it's all about kind of experimenting. So what I would say is, back in college, when I was trying to figure this all out, I did this little treatment where I ate the same breakfast every single day, and I gave myself the same amount of insulin, and every day I had a different result. So that's what I'm talking about, is that you have to make these little adjustments and you got to find kind of what works for you. So I can speak to what I do, but I think it's super important that you kind of play around with different things. And it does get easier once you start kind of understanding how your body reacts to different foods.
Thank you so much. I hope that answered answered the question in the chat, and we have a lot of thank yous coming in and wonderful comments. And if they weren't fans before, I think you're going to have a lot of folks in Rhode Island rooting for you in your upcoming matches.
Thank you. And hopefully we get to do this in person one of these days so I can meet all of you.
Yes, I'm sure everyone is ready to get back in person. And thank you, Deb, for having us. Novo Nordisk is proud to work with JC, and we're really happy to have the chance to support World Diabetes Day.
Thank you.
Thank you, JC. That was a really inspirational story. I appreciate that you say everybody takes a whiff in life. I think that's so true. And the other thing, the good point I thought that you brought out was that it is different for everybody, you know, when they have diabetes. Their treatment, their plan, everything is different. You have to find what works for you. It's so true. Thank you so much for being on today. We are so happy you could participate and give us a look into your life and the obstacles that you were faced with and the barriers that you have overcome. Your story is truly motivational one. Thank you so much. Now, everyone, please show your appreciation for JC by lighting up the chat box. I see some thank yous coming in now, JC. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Now, for everyone at home, we're going to take another break. We're ahead of schedule now, surprisingly. That doesn't usually happen for me anyway. So I want to encourage everyone here to visit our website, RIWDD.org, to learn more about diabetes and this important day and tools you can use. Just as a reminder, everyone that's logging in will be muted except for myself and the speakers. So feel free to use the chat box all day long today, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. We are going to return at 9:45 a.m. Now, did everyone see the State House lit up in blue? I noticed that Nancy had it as her background. It's pretty spectacular, actually, when you go down to see it. Nancy had provided a couple of pictures for us, and I love the fact that she was using it for her background. So make sure you drive by the State House. It will be lit up in blue until tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last day. So thank you all. All right, so time for a little break. We'll be back here at 9:45. So you have about 8 minutes this time. Thank you. See you in a few minutes. Just as a reminder for anyone just logging on with us today for the first time, for questions for session leaders, please use the chat box. Except for myself and the speakers, all participants are on mute. Our next speaker is going to start in just a couple minutes at 9:50 a.m. But I just wanted to share some important facts and figures to keep in mind as we're hearing all the different presenters share and speak today. 9% of Rhode Island adults, which is more than 75,000 people, have been diagnosed with diabetes. But almost 24% of all people with diabetes have not yet been diagnosed. So the real number of Rhode Island adults with diabetes may be almost 99,000. In addition to this, the CDC estimates that 34% of people, which is more than 288,000 adults in Rhode Island, or about 1 in 3 people, have pre-diabetes with blood glucose levels higher than normal, but not yet high enough to be diagnosed with diabetes. That's why we are all here today, to make diabetes awareness a priority, and just to teach you some things. Maybe you pick up a little tidbit today, and hopefully that will be important to you. Together we can all make a difference. So I'm hoping that you all will enjoy the speakers today and maybe learn a little bit something as well. Welcome back, everyone. As our Rhode Island World Diabetes Day celebration continues, get those chat box questions ready, Rhode Island. We promised some amazing speakers today, and our first speaker did not disappoint, did he? And who knows more about bringing people and communities together to live their best lives than the American Diabetes Association, right? The ADA's mission is to prevent and cure diabetes and to improve the lives of all people affected by diabetes. It is the nation's leading voluntary health organization fighting to bend the curve on the diabetes epidemic and help people living with diabetes thrive. For nearly 80 years, the ADA has been driving discovery and research to treat, manage, and prevent diabetes while working relentlessly for a cure. The ADA helps people with diabetes thrive by fighting for their rights and developing programs, advocacy, and education designed to improve their quality of life. Susan Sarro is here with us today. Susan is the executive director of the American Diabetes Association in New England, which represents Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont. She has more than 20 years of progressive leadership experience in both the nonprofit and for-profit sectors. Susan specializes in navigating change, building and rebuilding underperforming businesses and teams in order to reestablish an effective presence and growth within her respective territory. Susan, we are so happy that you could be with us today to introduce our next speaker. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm playing with all the buttons, of course.
Welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for having us here today. My name is Susan Sarah, the Executive Director with American Diabetes Association. I'm just pulling up the slideshow to make sure that it is. Can you see the full screen there, Deb?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, hang on. Let me make sure. All right, let me. How about now?
Almost. It says you're starting to share your screen. So probably just another second. There it is.
All right, awesome.
Got it now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm so happy to be here and to talk about No Diabetes by Heart and to introduce you to one of our national ambassadors. Before I do that, and before we have this great conversation with her, just a little bit about No Diabetes by Heart. It's a collaboration between the American Diabetes Association and the American Heart Association. Basically, these two organizations have joined forces with the goal of reducing cardiovascular death, heart attack, and stroke, and heart failure in people living with type 2. Therefore, they've created a portal so patients, individuals, providers, and even quality improvement information is all in one place. So we're going to talk about that on the backside of our conversation with our ambassador. But the program really hopes to increase your understanding of the link between type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. And unfortunately, if you live with type 2 diabetes, there is an increased risk of having heart attack or stroke or heart failure. And unfortunately, heart disease and stroke is a leading cause of death for someone who lives with type 2. So it's very important that we get this information and that the linkage between the two out. It is scary. It's scary to have a cardiovascular disease. It's scary to live with diabetes in some cases, but No Diabetes by Heart is here to help kind of flip the script. We want to give patients a new purpose, be in the driver's seat of your health journey, which I think is a perfect introduction to our national No Diabetes by Heart ambassador. Please help me welcome Lupe Barraza. Help me welcome her. She's got an amazing story. We're going to be talking to her. And, Lupe took her health by the horns. She took the bull by the horns, her health by the horns, and made some big changes. It wasn't easy, but she did flip the script. Lupe is a busy CPA. She's a mother of 6. She's an avid runner and a perfect ambassador to No Diabetes by Heart. So welcome, Lupe. How are you doing?
Hi, Susan.
So good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm excited about this. We've been preparing and just very excited to join such a good cause.
So let me get started here with a few questions. So tell everybody why you applied to be an ambassador for No Diabetes by Heart.
Well, at first I was very hesitant. I lived my life very privately and sort of secretly for years before, and a dear friend of mine was actually an ambassador the year that it was that current year. Christina RIDOH, she's actually in that picture with me and holding the medal next to me. So we ran our first race during COVID times. But she knew my story, she knew my struggle. We've known each other since we were children, and she really encouraged me to apply. And she encouraged me to come in and to share my story, simply because of the diabetes and the heart disease were so prevalent in both of our families. And so after a bit of gaining a little bit of confidence, I went ahead and applied, and so glad that I did, because it's contributed to my personal growth throughout pandemic, actually. So I'm very, very, very excited and honored to continue to share my story and hope that it inspires at least one person.
That's awesome. So tell us about, when were you first diagnosed with diabetes?
Well, when I was first officially diagnosed was actually about a month after I was in a second marriage that was very abusive in all shapes and forms. And I had actually spent a little time in the hospital after an incident. And the stress drove my glucose very, very high. I knew that I was susceptible to it because of my family background. My father and mother both are type 2 diabetic, and most of my dad's 12 siblings have died because of complications of adult onset type 2 diabetes. So I knew it was in my future. But with the weight fluctuation due to stress and not taking care of myself because of the environment that I was living in, that really drove things to the edge. I was starting to, I was very, very weak emotionally and just all around. And I was waking up with nerve damage. I couldn't walk some mornings or squeeze my hands because the effects of the diabetes had already started affecting my nerves in my hands and in my feet. So I found a doctor, and this is when I was living in Houston. I found a doctor in Houston who was very proactive and got me on some medication. We did not get on insulin right away. She worked on understanding what was going on with me in my environment and encouraged me to try diet and exercise. And we tried some modified medication, and that seemed to work for a little bit. But I didn't leave the environment. I continued. And so that time was very challenging because I had already ran 10 marathons, 8 years prior to that. So I knew what to do. I knew that when I was first told I was pre-diabetic, I did it. I controlled the weight. I started running and did that. So I knew what to do.
So let me ask you, Lupe, so you got the diagnosis, like once you were diagnosed and you said you were told you had diabetes, was it something that you adopted right away, or were you on board right away with, okay, now I have to make these radical changes, or did that come over time?
That came over time because, again, I was not focused on myself. It was because of the environment that I was in, it was more of a burden. So I was ashamed of it because here's something else he has to deal with. Here's something else I have to modify my life and now modify his life because I was cooking, or I had to take time away from someone else to focus on myself. So it was more of now what else do I have to deal with? Now here I'm bringing more burden to the table. So it wasn't easy at first because I wasn't focused on myself. I wasn't healthy enough. I wasn't strong enough mentally to focus on myself. So
is it safe to say, Lupe, that maybe knowing you were trying to kind of keep the peace in your environment, did you just kind of ignore it for a while, or did you?
Yes.
You kind of just yeah. How long do you think you kind of ignored it?
Until my mom had a stroke. So we were living in Houston. Our hometown is Dallas, Texas. Excuse me. And we were living in Houston, and it was year 4. And I was, in a city I didn't know anyone. So I worked quite a bit, and that added to the stress. But then my mom had a stroke in March of 2019. And she actually, my brother put her on her plane to Mexico to visit her family, my grandmother. And her sugar was really high when she got on that plane. She didn't tell anyone. Again, something else to burden someone else with. And, you know, it's in our culture. We're women, we're supposed to be warriors, and we're supposed to not burden anyone. And so the minute she got off that plane, she had a stroke and she couldn't come home for almost a month. And that woke me up. You know, I remember being in the office and going, what the hell am I doing? You know, what am I doing? You know, I'm here and no one is here with me. I have 2 small children. This could happen to me because I'm not taking care of myself. You know, it's not just, and I've heard the silent killer, you know, and I've heard that it was, you know, that it was very prevalent in women, very prevalent in Latina women. But it wasn't until my mother had a stroke, and this was our matriarch. And
so that really was a turning point for you. Yeah.
That should have been the end of it. But that was the first sort of trigger. And that started the steps for me to make it back home, back to my hometown, to be closer to my parents. Yeah. And then when I moved here, the day that I was moving things into storage, my dad had a heart attack. And that set off a year long of amputations. And so he started losing his toes, part of his feet, then down to a leg.
So you really have not only your own health, but this diabetes, cardiovascular issues seem to run in your family. So you really have a deep understanding and experience with this.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, you know, being in the hospital room with my brothers, having to make that decision, whether, you know, we fight for him or let him go, and hearing the doctor say he's got a 10% chance of survival, all of his organs are completely damaged. And this is from years of, and my dad had actually, it'd been about 24 years that my dad was actively taking care of his diabetes. And so it had been, though, all the damage from before, you know, before he was 40, all of the, you know, the bad eating habits, the bad, the not exercising, the heavy drinking, all of those bad habits contributed to where he was today. And so much so that those 24 years after of him, you know, controlling his diet, injecting insulin, walking at least 2 hours a day, that wasn't enough to reverse those effects. And that was another shocker. The third one was facing my younger brother, who is a kidney and pancreas transplant survivor, also results of type 2 diabetes. So it was like I was getting these red flags everywhere, and it just wasn't enough. It was getting me there, but it wasn't enough to just go, okay, this is it.
So what was that turning point? When was the Lupe like official enlightenment? Because you certainly had a lot of, like you said, a lot of examples or warnings or, you know.
Yes.
I don't want to be sensitive to the nature of those issues.
No, it should, each one of those should have been, were serious enough that they should have been it. But it wasn't until one night when my ex-husband and I were sitting at our dinner table. And of course he was, excuse me, he was intoxicated, and I was, you know, fearful and wanting to keep the peace because the kids were in the house. And he looked at me with these evil eyes and he just said, I don't care if you die. I don't care. I don't care that you're sick. I don't care if you die. Because if you die, I get all of this. And it was at that moment that that's when it hit. He's right. He is right. If I die, that's it. And I am all these kids have. I do, you know, I have adult children and two little children at home, and I'm it. And it was just through a matter of seconds that it started running through my head. If my mom having a stroke wasn't enough, if my dad having a heart attack wasn't enough, if my brother having organ transplants wasn't enough, if my dad losing, you know, his limbs wasn't enough, what is going to be enough? Is it going to take for me to die and then have the one person that's supposed to be taking care of me tell me, I don't care if you die? So it was that week that I started making changes. I started, we left separated.
Lupe, first I want to thank you. Thank you for telling us all of that and sharing that. I mean, I think all of the things that you just said, any person can relate to any one of those, like whether in a bad relationship or they have so many families that are affected or like so many like stresses on them. So that is so powerful what you're sharing, and even your cultural, not necessarily biases, but like cultural expectations
Yes.
of, you know, the women's role in the family. And, you know, I just really want to just pause for a moment and thank you for being very vulnerable about this information. So tell us, and the folks that are watching, what changes did you make? You know, what really has to happen to start to reverse some of this and empower and be empowered?
Well, the first thing I did, and I actually did this before that light bulb came on, is I found a doctor. When I moved back to my hometown, I found a great, amazing doctor. And she looked at things holistically. And that's one thing that I encourage everyone is to really take the time to build your team. And your team should start with a fabulous doctor and not be scared to ask those questions. You know, she encouraged me to bring questions. She would walk through with me whenever I took my panels, my blood work, we would walk through them. She knew what was going on at home. And so she used that to build my plan to wellness. So she was there holding my hand as I was taking those small steps, because after my dad had his heart attack, I did start walking, and I did, you know, a mile. And then, you know, my body didn't forget. I started slowly picking up the running and slowly trying to, you know, manage the diet, and slowly the things that I could control when I was outside of that. But she really, really played a pivotal role. And then that, and then just being around inspirational people, now being closer to my friend Christina, who, you know, she had suffered some complications from type 2 with her heart and had a triple bypass at 42. So, you know, being around people that were encouraging, I slowly started changing my environment, started increasing my running, and started refocusing on the things that I knew I could do because I'd done them before. And that
Lupe,
just...
Lupe, can I ask you to double click a little bit in the relationship with your doctor? I think, and I've had and come across this with many different cultures, that the role of a doctor is such an authority figure that sometimes people are afraid to question the doctor. I mean, many times the doctor will say, go get this blood work. And then, you know, depending on the interaction, you know, they may never find out why that blood work was taken or what the result of the blood work was. So could you give a little bit of encouragement around, you know, it's okay to talk to your doctor and to question or ask the questions, you know?
Sure. I see it. I saw it with my parents, and I see it a lot in my culture, because we do look at doctors. Either we're scared to go to doctors altogether and they don't go at all, or they honor the position because of the education and they're physicians, but you just take what they say and you run and not bother to ask any questions. And the problem with that is that when you start asking those questions, you're asking them to the wrong person. You're asking them to someone who's not a doctor, and you're getting diagnoses from people who aren't knowledgeable. And so I encourage people to take those questions. When you're outside of your appointment and something pops in your head, write it down. You know, keep a log, keep a list, and then take it to your doctor and ask those questions. You know, if you hear things like A1C and lipids and, you know, and cholesterol, know what those numbers mean. Understand those numbers. And most doctors are not going to be hesitant to explain to you what those numbers are. In fact, they'll welcome it. And if you find a doctor that doesn't welcome it, then it's time to find another doctor. And that's the thing that we need to understand, is that we have that power. We can choose. We can choose who we bring into our circle, who becomes part of our team. And because the doctor is such a pivotal person in that team, we need to be able to comfortable and ask those questions. You know, when you go take
That's great.
take your blood test.
That's great.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then the last question I want to ask you is, how are you today? How are things going today?
Oh, great. So great that I even started my own company. So I feel better emotionally, physically, mentally. I am in a safe, clean environment. My relationship with my parents is great. My relationship with my friends and family is great. And my relationship with my children. And so I've even, decided to not wait until they get older, the little ones, to have them understand what is diabetes and what does it mean. And, yes, mommy's sick, but, this is why we're going for the walk. This is why we're going. So
you're bringing your family in to do things together. That's great. That's great. So you've been able to consistently manage your diet, keep exercise as a part of your regular routine. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you've been able to reduce your stress significantly.
Oh, yes. I think that's a big part of it, because even though we know what we need to do, if a lot of times, and we see this a lot in my culture, is you're not allowed to do them. Especially as a woman, you're home, you're cooking dinner for your family, and your time should be spent focused on your children, not on you. And so, being able to encourage the women around me to say, you don't need to wait for the perfect time. You can take those kids with you on a walk, and they'll love it. They don't need to go, to a mall. You can go outside and walk around the block, and that's exercise for you. And for them, and it's teaching them those healthy habits, because we are going to, from time to time, have that, French fry or that slice of cake or, whatever. Yes. We're human, we're human. Yes. And we have kids. And that's another thing that I say is, it's okay to have it, just move and not make it a habit, not make it part of your everyday, but not beat yourself up about it. And that's one of the biggest things too, is not beating yourself up about it, is, every day is a new day, and just keep moving.
That is such great advice. And I wanted to share with you a few things in the chat. There are people that are commending you and saying what an amazing survivor you are. They appreciate you talking about the importance of your doctor and asking the doctor a question and making sure that the doctor is listening. People are thanking you for sharing your story, your strength, your perseverance. You're very inspirational. Love hearing that you're doing great. Someone else is saying thank you for sharing the importance of building a team and supporting a network to help manage your diabetes and health. Someone is saying, thank you for your real life situations that affects diabetes as far as effects of just the person living with diabetes. I hope I read that right. Thank you for your real life situations that the effects of diabetes are far more than just the effects of a person living with diabetes. I hope I read that right. You're in control of your life and there for your family. It takes a village to raise a child, but also a village to be aware of a family history and helping each other out. So I just wanted you to hear some of those comments. I know we're just about done with our time. We have about 5 minutes. What I wanted to do quickly is just to run through a couple of these slides so that if you're looking for more information or resources, visiting the No Diabetes by Heart website is a perfect place for you to go. When you go into the website, this is what you're going to see. You're going to be able to go into the site, whether you're caring for someone or you're living with diabetes or cardiovascular issues, or if you're a healthcare professional, this is what you'll see when you enter on the site. So you can really get information based on what your needs are. Just another reinforcement that, adults with diabetes are 2 times more likely to have a heart attack or stroke than people without diabetes. So that's really the important linkage here. The AHA and the ADA are really trying to raise this awareness of the linkage between the two. And, even living with cardiovascular disease, that can make you more susceptible to become or being diagnosed with a diabetes diagnosis, and, vice versa. So it's just important that we stress that. And that unfortunately, if you're living with diabetes, your chances of having heart disease and or stroke are that much greater. And then, just we want you to take action. Everything Lupe has been saying today, take your medications as prescribed, see your doctor, exercise, monitor your information like glucose, blood glucose, cholesterol, blood pressure. If you're newly diagnosed and you do not know how to, read your glucose monitor, those are important things to actually schedule time with your doctor. So please don't skimp out on the necessary information. The other thing is going to the website will help you get in touch with programs for diabetes self-management education and support, and ways to help you talk to your doctor. And this is one of the great tools, and you can bring that you'll find on the site, 4 questions to talk to your healthcare provider about, how do I lower my risk for heart disease and stroke? Do any of my medications help me manage these risks? Are there any programs that can help me with my condition? So going in armed, like Lupe said, going in, as you're driving, I know when I drive, I get a lot of things come to my mind, and like sometimes I just kind of write them down, or in the shower or wherever you do your best thinking, write those things down along with some of these types of questions you can get from the portal. And then here are just some other steps, to prevent strokes. If you're living with diabetes, talk to your doctor about, goals for controlling your diabetes. Again, your medication, what is your healthy eating habits like? What are your habits like? And managing and controlling your blood pressure. Again, these are just some tips you'll find on the site. When you go in, there's also some resources. And I've talked about this in this forum in the past about our Ask the Expert series. You'll be drawn to a monthly series where you can directly talk and visit and experience a Q&A session with an expert. It's everything from heart issues to diabetes issues. It even goes into, eye health, kidney health. So our Ask the Expert series, it's on a monthly basis. And again, this information is on the resource site. There's also access to Living with Type 2 Diabetes, which is a great program for someone newly diagnosed. It's free. It basically helps someone through the transitions in life, whether, right now you might be in your 30s and 40s, but what's diabetes going to be like when I'm in my 60s and 70s? And the Living with Type 2 program is really great for helping you with that. So just, again, food resources. I know I got to end and wrap up. And then resources to help you with education, reducing your peripheral artery disease, kidney disease, understanding your medications. And I've been through a lot of this, but here's where you can go to join. Just go to nodiabetesbyheart.org/join. It's free. If you're a doctor, if you're a patient, it addresses it no matter who is going into the portal. So I will leave it there. Deb, I think we got right to 10:20. I raced at the end, but I want to thank Lupe so much for her amazing storytelling and vulnerability. And as someone said in the chat, just being so real with us in this conversation. I think people that are afraid to talk about it, living with diabetes, there's a lot of shame that comes with that. So we're so grateful for you, Lupe. So thank you so much. And Deb, thank you for the opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you, Susan, for being here today to provide information on the Know Your Diabetes by Heart program, and for letting us know where to find resources also. And thank you, Lupe, for sharing your personal, your emotional, your inspiring, and very powerful story. You have overcome so many obstacles in your life. It's so great. It's wonderful. And it's so important to have a good support team and to know your numbers, like you had said. Susan and Lupe, thank you for teaching us about the connection between heart disease and diabetes. Managing diabetes is truly good for the heart. So everyone continue to light up the chat box for our speakers today. Thank you, both of you. And right now we are going to take another break. We are out of time, so we will have another 5-minute break, maybe 4 minutes now. We want to come back here at 10:25. As a reminder to everyone joining us, please continue to visit our event website throughout the program to follow the schedule, learn about our speakers, And that website is RIWDD, sorry, RIWDD.org. That's where you can find more information about today's events, and the recordings are going to be there eventually. Let us know if you have any questions, and take your break. We'll be back at 10:25, and you'll want to join us here because there's going to be prizes in the next segment. See you soon. Bye. Okay, we are back from our break, everyone. Now, are you all ready to learn a little something and have fun at the same time? Al Lewis, CEO of Quizzify, is here today to help us do just that. In collaboration with doctors at Harvard Medical School, Quizzify teaches employees health literacy using a format best described as Jeopardy meets health education meets Comedy Central. The companion product Quizzify To Go translates these learnings into a unique compilation of questions to ask the doctor, covering 85 common conditions, procedures, complaints, and drugs. Every contestant who makes it onto the leaderboard in this contest will receive a year's subscription to Quizzify To Go, including 24/7 support. Al also literally wrote the book on measuring wellness outcomes, why nobody believes the number, and founded the Validation Institute to do exactly that. That's why his supporters call him the #1 wellness and diabetes outcomes measurement guru in the country. What his detractors say can't be repeated across state lines without risking our coveted G rating. Thanks for being here today, Al.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Now, they say you should never try a recipe with company until you've done it at home. So this is we haven't actually rehearsed this. So here's hoping it goes fine. But if not, you'll hear us talking to each other and I'm sure it'll be okay. All right, so you just heard who we are. So we're going to skip that. You just frankly heard a little bit of the shameless plug. So we're going to skip most of the shameless plug, except that I would say that Quizzify to Go, which has these doctor question sets, has actually 6 diabetes questions for doctor set: pre-diabetes, first diagnosis, meds, metformin, insulin, and gestational all have their own questions. And all you do is click on it, as you'll see, and you get the questions. So here's an example of a Quizzify trivia question. Now, others that are largely related to diabetes are going to be in the game you're about to play, but here's one that's just of general interest. It would show up as, can you fix the cavity without drilling it and filling it? And your choices are obviously not. Yes, a lot of times they just go away on their own if you brush really well with a fluoride toothpaste. Or yes, your dentist can paint a miracle solution on the cavity that will stop it in its tracks. The answer is, your dentist can paint a miracle solution on it that will stop it in its tracks at 2/3 of the time. It's called silver diamine fluoride. Here it is on the Today Show. They actually learned about it from us. The dentists have done a very good job of not telling people about it because they can only charge $30 instead of, $200 to fill a cavity. And here's how it works. I just had it myself. They paint a little bit on this brush and they put the brush on your decay and the decay stops. The cavity just stops where it is. Quizzify to Go is a little app you put on your phone. I'm sure I have it on here if I can find it. It has big Q on it. And if you're on the leaderboard, you can see the Q right in the middle there. If you're on the leaderboard, you're gonna get this gratis for a year. You simply put in any keyword under the search, and it will draw up whatever it is you're looking for. So for instance, we gave the example of cavities. If you put the word cavities in there, you'll get 6 questions to ask your dentist. Now, in this case, the questions are really very probing because, like I say, the dentists don't like to do this because it saves you so much money. In fact, for kids, they're actually required to tell you about silver diamine fluoride by their very own professional association, and yet they don't. So we have a whole bunch of questions to ask. You can play a quiz on silver diamine fluoride. You can email it to friends, and you can add it to your calendar for the dental visit. All right, here's the actual contest. We're going to talk about the rules, the prizes, and then I'm going to hand the baton over to Deborah Newell, who will set up the actual Kahoot quiz. So the rules are as follows. Rule number 1, no whining. Rule number 2, oh, the rules didn't come out. All right, well, I'll tell you what the other rules are. Oh, I think I called up the wrong presentation. I'll take care of it during the actual contest, but no whining. Cheaters will be denied use of the lavatory facilities, and food thrown at the MC may not contain added sugar. Okay, with that, I will turn it over to you to start the quiz, and I will stop my sharing.
So Mark is actually going to start the quiz
Okay.
for us. There you go. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, can you all see the screen? It says waiting for players.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, to play, you just either go to the website that you see at the top of the screen, www.kahoot.it, or you could download the Kahoot app and then enter this game pin. It will ask you to enter a nickname, and then you will be put into the trivia game.
And while you're doing that, actually, I have to announce the prizes. My first prize is a $100 gift card plus Quizify to go for a year. Runner-ups are $50 gift cards, 2 runner-ups, plus Quizify to go for a year. And if you're on the leaderboard, you get Quizify to go for a year. Time permitting, and we never know if time's going to permit, there will be a sudden death overtime open to all, and whoever wins gets a full corporate Quizify subscription for up to 100 employees, unless you're an individual, in which case you get Quizify to go. Okay, have we all signed on yet, or?
We have 4 players, now 5. We'll wait just another few seconds and then we will start the game. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, last call to join, going once, going twice. And these will be our competitors.
We have a couple of non-diabetes questions like this one.
So where did neonatology originate? And so you just click to send in your answer.
Okay, we've got only one correct guess. Actually, one correct guess, but you know, the first question, it's early yet.
It looks like no one got that last one correct.
No one got that one.
It was from Coney Island.
Yes, and we'll show you all the stuff at the end.
What percent of Heinz ketchup is sugar?
Ooh,
33%, and we do have one right answer.
Ironically, Judy Collins, I think, always cooks with honey. This is a Cliff Bar question that we all know and love.
And none of the above is right.
Yes, it is sugar, my friends, all sugar. All right, we got 2 folks on the scoreboard here.
What year was Frederick Banting born?
Okay, this is our first majority win. So it puts a few people on the scoreboard.
All right.
Actually, we will discuss why that is not the correct answer as part of the answers. We did get one that's one somebody got it right. Oh, JL is in the lead now. So it's a true horse race going on here. Not a true horse race, but, you know, figuratively. Okay, we got a couple of right answers here. And one of the things we're going to discuss in the presentation is how easy it is to be fooled by by food companies about added sugars. Judy Collins back in the lead. Okay, a couple of right answers here. Not even a close question, by the way. And fiber will also, in addition to many other benefits, food eaten with fiber won't spike your blood sugar as quickly. Okay, a non-diabetes question here. Okay, a couple of right answers for the Flintstones. Yabba dabba doo. And a new winner, a new leader on the leaderboard. Remember, this is non-insulin using type 2. The answer is, according to Choosing Wisely, less than once a day. Once again, we'll go over that during the presentation itself. Oh, GIC is making his or her move. Oh, congratulations to most people. Okay. It's a close one. And it looks like the plurality won this time. And once again, we'll go over them on the answers. And so the winner is Judy Collins. So Judy Collins has $100 coming her way. And JL and Alexa have 50, but everybody can play in sudden death if in fact we have time. Now let's go over the answers. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen and we will get to the first answer. Oh, we actually, first answer is right here. I'm going to go to slideshow. Okay, Coney Island was where neonatology started, incredibly enough. For 30 years, no hospital would get near it. There was a doctor who was completely committed to keeping these little preemies alive. He got hold of a whole bunch of egg incubators from farms, adapted them for babies, and the way he financed his NICU unit was by charging admission. You can look it up. We're a trivia company. We don't make this stuff up. What percent of Heinz ketchup is sugar? 33%. The way I came up with this question, I was watching a documentary about Heinz, and he's stirring up his concoction in a pot, and it doesn't taste quite right. So he adds some sugar, tastes better, but still not quite right. Adds more sugar, tastes better. Adds more sugar. Finally, adds a ton of sugar, and it just tastes great, and is the world-beating product that it is today. And they do not list sugar as the first ingredient. They don't list it at all, frankly. They list high fructose corn syrup and corn syrup. By listing them separately, they appear lower on the ingredients label. One of the other things I like about this ingredients label is it says tomato concentrate from red ripe tomatoes. Like, where else would you get tomato concentrate, So they try to make it sound incredibly healthy when reality it's 1/3 sugar. This is my favorite example of hidden ingredients. This is a Quaker quinoa granola bar, and you can see the very spry looking Quaker here and the very healthy looking fruits here. And the first ingredient is quinoa, which of course is very healthy. But if you look really hard at the ingredients label, which is very hard to see, it's very small, you will find 10 sugars in this. Granola bars are the worst kind of health food, worst kind of food, because they are junk marketed as healthy. So you think you're doing yourself a favor, but you're not. Now, once again, a little bit of a theme here. The first ingredient in Cliff Bar, and I believe we stumped the panel on this one, organic brown rice syrup is sugar. It looks healthy because you got the word organic, you got your brown, you got your... Anytime you see the word sugar in an ingredients label, anytime you see the word syrup in an ingredients label, it is sugar. It does not matter what words precede it. Frederick Banting was born in 1891. He actually did his work at a shockingly early age in the extraction and research on insulin. Question 5, you pick a cereal that is high in fiber. And even then, you know, cereal's really not too high on the list of things to eat for people with diabetes, but sometimes you just got to have breakfast, you know. So go with something high in fiber. It does have a fair amount of sugar in it, but the more other non-sugar foods you have in a cereal or anything else to go with the sugar, the slower your blood sugar will spike. And here's a certain rule of cereal certainty, which is cartoon character on the box equals loads of sugar in the box. Question 6, malted barley flour is not sugar. Malted barley extract is sugar, and in fact was on that Quaker quinoa granola bar. The other 3 items mentioned, turbinado, agave, and can't remember what the other ones, they're all sugars, and in fact, there are 50 kinds of added sugars in processed foods that you have to look out for. A good rule of thumb in processed foods is if it is sweet, it has lots of sugar. Okay, doesn't matter what they call it, doesn't matter how they hide it, it's got a lot of sugar, and that's why it's sweet. Which nutrient are we most deficient in? Fiber, by far. I mean, so I think the popular choice survey says was vitamin D, which, you know, some of us are. It is number 2, but fiber by far number 1. And this will shock you, but to get fiber, you have to eat healthy food, fruits, vegetables, nuts, you know, that kind of thing, whole grains. Question 8, a non-diabetes question. Which couple was the first to be shown in bed together? And I think a few people got this right. It was the Flintstones. They were role models for all of us, except when they weren't. Okay, they did in fact do a commercial for Winston cigarettes, and you can see it right there. Good luck unremembering that image. Question 9. Choosing wisely, for those of you who don't know, is a completely objective source driven actually by each physician specialty community, where they reach agreement on things that should be done probably much less often than people think they should be done. So it's a way of both getting higher quality. Their mission statement is to have higher quality and to avoid overuse. And one of the things that they are adamant about, and they actually quote the American Academy of Family Physicians, is it says, don't routinely recommend daily home glucose monitoring for patients who have type 2 diabetes and are not using insulin. And if you read this carefully, it says, you know, now there are cases where you do. Well, obviously type 1 you do. It says daily finger glucose testing has no benefit in patients with type 2 diabetes who are not on insulin or medications associated with hypoglycemia, and small but significant patient harms are associated with daily glucose testing. And the harm is basically a lot of false alarms. You know, people's glucose tends to go up and down. Yeah, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, and that's why the HbA1c measurement is so much better. Now, The self-monitoring blood glucose should be reserved for patients where you're changing the meds or you're doing some very significant change to your diet or exercise. Okay, look, don't shoot the messenger here. This is choosing wisely talking. And I believe most people got this one wrong. Now let's go back to the restaurant thing, which is what people got. This was people's best question. Grilled is the right answer. When you see a word like glaze or barbecue sauce, that means sugar, because I mean, the restaurants have figured out that people like things that are sweet even for dinner, just not as sweet for dinner as for dessert. So here's what happens when with the word crunch. Okay, so we had this Raisin Bran up here, which, innocuous enough cereal. I mean, it's got some sugar in it. Let's be clear about that. But it's as cereals go, it's fairly healthy. Well, the problem with the healthy cereals is that nobody buys it. So Kellogg's added a whole bunch of sugar in these. Actually, I think it was corn syrup, whatever it was, when they made these little crunchy things and put them in the Raisin Bran to make it sweeter and have more sugar. And guess what? More people bought it. I have to say, I mean, I went to a hotel once, and you had to get the sugar, the cereal off they had the self bowls and everything. They didn't have Raisin Bran. So I thought, Raisin Bran Crunch, it's got to be the same thing. Honestly, I almost spit it out. I mean, Raisin Bran is sweet enough. Raisin Bran Crunch, try drinking the little milk that's left in the bowl after you eat the cereal, and then you'll see how sweet it is. And then finally, question 11. Cheerios are the healthiest popular cereal. I mean, you can get healthier cereals for sure, but nobody does because they don't taste good. 100% bran flakes. Yeah, good luck with getting your kids to eat that. It is not on the list of the worst healthy cereals. A couple of things that are on the list is a good rule of thumb is when you see the word antioxidants, it means whatever you're buying is unhealthy. Okay, I know that sounds counterintuitive, but for every person whose life was saved with an antioxidant, if indeed anybody ever was, probably 10,000 people got diabetes from eating processed foods that advertise antioxidants that are full of sugar. Now, the one that really sticks in my craw is the Honey Nut Cheerios, okay, because they took Cheerios, like I say, perfectly innocuous, one of the healthiest cereals you can buy, got a little sugar in it, and they put all sorts of wacky statements on it. In fact, it can help lower cholesterol. If you essentially eat a diet of nothing but Honey Nut Cheerios, your cholesterol will probably go down. I believe you have to eat 1.5 to 2 cups a day to have an impact. Then they up in the corner here, it says gluten-free. A good rule of thumb is that when you see the words gluten-free on a processed food, that also means full of sugar. And made with real honey, yes. If you read far enough down the ingredients label, you will in fact find a little bit of real honey. Okay, but to say it's made with real honey is ever so slightly an overstatement. Now, if in fact it happens that this cereal now outsells regular Cheerios 9-1, which gives you an idea of why people get diabetes so much. Okay, so the winner, actually, we have announced the winners. I was going to announce the winners, but we already did. So now we do have enough time for a little sudden death overtime. So now everybody hit the chat box for this. Okay, so get ready in the chat box. You're going to have to put your answer in the chat box, and I'll be monitoring the chat box. So here is the question. Remember, whoever gets this either wins a corporate subscription or an individual subscription to Quizzify. Excluding government employees, sports and entertainment figures, and entrepreneurs, industrialists, who is by far the most famous native-born American of the 20th century. Oh my goodness! Holy smoke! Somebody got it already. Okay, I was ready to give all sorts of hints, but congratulations to Jen Levitt, who said Martin Luther King. It isn't even a close question, which is why you can ask the question. It's a subjective question. It's very hard to ask a subjective trivia question. The answer has to be much cleaner much not arguable at all. And this answer is simply not arguable. I mean, he's got a holiday named after him. So congratulations. We actually had a little extra time because I expected the sudden death overtime to take much longer. We don't actually have a lot of people on here, but if anybody has any follow-up questions, now we will relax the no whining rule if anybody would like to challenge one of the answers. And please do it quickly, otherwise we'll just take a little bit longer break between now and the next session. I wish there were more savory bars. Oh, okay, here are a few things here that people have said. I wish there were more savory bars versus sweet bars. Now, that's a very interesting point that Judy Collins raised, because in fact, I was once at a conference, and when Quizzify goes to conferences, we asked this question about the Cliff Bars. It turned out there was somebody from Cliff Bars in the audience. So they came up to me afterwards, and I was sure they were gonna, get really upset. And they said, you're right. We will be marketing a savory bar soon. Well, this was 3 years ago, and you don't see the bar yet, because my suspicion is that they focus grouped it and nobody liked the way it tasted. So that was one thing. Heinz ketchup, if somebody said they thought it would be 50% share, well, 33 is enough, And yes, mom only allowed regular Cheerios in the house growing up. Good for mom. That's what I say. We, on the other hand, used to eat Captain Crunch growing up, because my parents grew up in the Depression, and they weren't concerned about grams of carbs. They were concerned. They thought, I got to make sure our kids get something to eat here, right? Because we had a little problem with that. And so we used to eat Captain Crunch and actually put sugar on it. I mean, it was just I don't know what we were thinking, and yet we've lived to tell the tale so far. So let's see if we got anything else coming here in question wise. No, so I'm going to stop the share, and Mark or anybody would like to take over at this point?
Sure. Thank you, Al. And prize winners, I'm going to need you to email me so that I can send your prizes out to you. I'll need your addresses. Please email me at info at RIWDD.org. Maybe Mark will type that in the chat for me. So it's info at RIWDD.org. Al, thank you for providing some fun and also some information today. It's really an interesting game to play for sure.
Especially about diabetes, right? Because I mean, I was shocked. We already had these questions in Quizzify, but as I was curating them for this show, I was just reminded of how shocked I am about how much sugar there is in our food supply. All right, thanks for playing, everybody.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't forget, prize winners, I need you to contact me via email so that I can get your prizes out to you. And we're just about out of time. We're going to just take a quick break, and we will be back here at 11. Make sure you come back at 11. We're going to have a cooking demonstration. So see you back here at 11 a.m. Light up the chat box, thanking Al for his time today and his trivia questions. And we'll be back at 11. Thank you, everybody. And we're back again, everyone. I want to just remind you and encourage everyone at home to visit our event website, RIWDD.org, to learn more about diabetes, to learn more about this important day, and also to learn more about tools you can use. And please share whatever you've learned and the resources on your social media. Please help get the word out to more Rhode Islanders that help and support is available. We have a whole list of resources on our webpage that you can tap into. So back again, and as a reminder, for anyone that's just logging in today for the first time, for questions for our session leaders, please use the chat box. Except for myself and the speakers, all participants are on mute. And next on the agenda, Ana Almeida do Rosario will introduce our next segment. Ana holds a bachelor's degree in education studies from Brown University with a focus on human development. Ana is currently the community outreach coordinator in the Lifespan Community Health Institute, a position she has held since 2014. As part of this role, Ana works to establish and maintain effective relationships with community representatives and organizations in order to increase awareness and utilization of health improvement programs, especially those directed to low-income, vulnerable, and disparately affected populations. She oversees LCHI's diabetes prevention program and represents Lifespan in various collaborative efforts. This is Ana's first year as a member of the Rhode Island World Diabetes Day Planning Committee, and we are very happy to have her. Ana, thank you for announcing our next segment.
My pleasure, Deb. Thank you so much. It is my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Jeanette Nessett. She is a registered and licensed dietitian nutritionist and a member of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. She graduated from Syracuse University with a Bachelor of Science degree in nutrition. Her nutrition expertise includes serving clientele of all ages and working with multicultural populations. She has experience in community nutrition, individual assessment and counseling, and group planning and education. She is involved in a variety of coalitions and networks on both local and national levels. Jeanette was with Lifespan's Employee Wellness Program from 2006 through 2019 when she transitioned to the Lifespan Community Health Institute. She currently provides programs for school-aged children and collaborates with many community groups. I'm excited to have Jeanette today do a cooking demonstration. I always learn something new from her. I always pick up tips on what I should be doing at home when cooking. So I hope that you enjoy it. Jeanette, take it away.
Thank you, Ana. I appreciate it. So welcome, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you this morning. And I thought maybe what we would do is we would prepare a dish. It's actually a salad. However, you could have this salad either warm or you could have it cold from the refrigerator. It's called wheat berry and shredded Brussels sprout salad. So I'm going to tell you what are all the ingredients in the salad. I'll give you a little bit of nutrition information as I'm putting it together. So the main star of this dish is the wheat berries and the Brussels sprouts. So I've used wheat berries. They come dried like this, and I'll try to show you a little bit in my hand, but they're just a very, dry whole grain looking thing. With wheat berries, you can, if you want to soak them overnight, it just lessens the amount of cooking time that's required when the time comes to cook. And then they look like this cooked. So these are the wheat berries that we're using. We are using the Brussels sprouts. Now the Brussels sprouts actually called for them to be chopped thinly. So I did chop the amount thinly. So that looks like this. And then I thought, I wonder what they would be like if I shredded them. So I also put them in my Cuisinart and I shredded them up. And so they're like this. I'm almost thinking I might prefer to use the shredded because with a recipe like this, the flavors are absorbed much more readily if you have your components in smaller pieces. So I think we'll use the shredded for today. Then we have also some parsley, okay, which I've already chopped. we have a little bit of dates. And then we have our salad dressing, or the dressing that includes lemon juice, Dijon mustard, and extra virgin olive oil, and salt and pepper to taste. And then at the end, we're going to sprinkle with a little bit of sliced almonds. And I'm going to put some shards of Parmesan cheese on top. So we will go ahead and get started. Now with the wheat berries, obviously, because we have limited amount of time today, I did cook them in advance. If you put them in just as you would with rice, it's about 1 cup to 3 cups of fluid. And you let them boil on the stove for about 30 to 40 minutes. If you soak them, sometimes that can decrease the cooking time by just a little bit. So what do we know about wheat berries? Wheat berries are a whole grain. They're a complex carbohydrate, and complex carbohydrates are the ones that you should really focus on, because they when eaten daily, they really can help to lower your blood sugar levels and insulin concentration. They slow down digestion time, and and also the absorption of sugar in the bloodstream. Wheat berries have a little bit of a chewy texture, and they're an excellent source of fiber at about 4 grams per quarter cup serving. They are packed with nutrition. They have a little bit of iron and zinc, B6, and magnesium. And as a grain, they are high in protein, but they're not a complete protein as a piece of meat would be, for example, or chicken, fish, etc. There are 9 grams of protein. However, because they do not contain all of the amino acids that make a complete protein, you would have to add something additional to this, such as beans, legumes, seeds, nuts, or another animal product if you just wanted an alternative protein. We are going to be adding nuts to this today. We do know that whole grains increase regularity. So with increased fiber, we also need to increase our fluid intake, because it just absorbs water, and we really need that to help move it through our intestine. They do increase the good bacteria in our gut, which is improving our microbiota. And so that's a very important factor as well. You could easily, in this recipe, substitute farro, brown rice, orzo, any kind of small pasta. However, you want to try to use the whole grain version. You can also turn this into like a pilaf. You could make a hot cereal with it, add it to soups or stews. And the nice thing about wheat berries, similar to barley or farro or any of those things, you could cook up a batch of them, because they do take a little longer than regular rice. And you can freeze them in small bags or small containers and have them already cooked and ready to use when you want to toss them into one of your recipes. So they're very versatile and can be used in many different ways. The next ingredient that we're going to add is going to be our Brussels sprouts. And like I said, I'm choosing to use the shredded Brussels sprouts today. Okay. Now, Brussels sprouts are one of those vegetables I read that are the most hated vegetable, because they're in the cruciferous family, and they can be very not so good. If you remember eating them as a child, and most of the time they were boiled to death, so they were soggy and they didn't have very good flavor. The very popular ways to use them nowadays are to either shred them and use them in a salad raw like this, or to roast them in the oven, which brings out such a different flavor you wouldn't even know it was the same vegetable. And you just, clean them, toss them in a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and season them, and put them in the oven until they're done to your liking. And they're just wonderful. So you might want to give them a try in some alternative ways of cooking. Because they're a cruciferous vegetable, they also have some anti-cancer properties, which are very important. They're very low in calories, very high in fiber, vitamin C, vitamin K, folate, and they have carotenoids, which act as antioxidants in the body, which essentially help to reduce the risk of many diseases. And they're protective for our bodies. So they also help to lower cholesterol. They can be eaten, as I said, in many different forms. And you can use them again also in many different ways, whether in salads or casseroles. A very popular thing people are doing now is they're taking off the stem end and they're peeling off each of the little layers to make the leaves. and then they're roasting the leaves to make chips with them, almost like the kale chip craze that we went through for a while. So you can do them into slaws or sauteed or however you like to cook them. I really like them roasted and in salads. Now that's one of my couple of my favorite ways to have them. The next ingredient we're going to add is parsley. Now, most of the time, when we put parsley in something or we see it on our plate, we think of it as a decoration, but we don't always think of it in terms of, adding it to our dish as an ingredient. If you've ever had the Middle Eastern salad tabbouleh, you know that that's one of the main components of tabbouleh. However, we know that even though it's an herb and we think of it as a garnish, we should remember that it is highly nutritious. Now, with parsley, unlike with cilantro, the stems are sweet, so you can chop them and use them right in your recipe. However, the stems of parsley tend to be bitter. So basically, you would want to cut the stems off and then pick the leaves off the stem. If there were just a little couple of pieces in there, it wouldn't be any harm. However, even when we used to make tabbouleh, we would pick all the leaves off the stems. So you want to keep that in mind as well. Surprisingly enough, it's high in nutrients like vitamin K, A, C. It's a good source of magnesium, potassium, folate, a little bit of iron, and some calcium as well. Now, there have been some animal studies that suggest that the antioxidants in parsley may actually help to improve or reduce blood glucose levels. However, we really don't have a whole lot of clinical studies on humans yet, so we're hoping that they do more studies on that to confirm the findings. However, in the meantime, it's not harmful to add them to your foods, and don't be afraid to eat that little bit of garnish on your plate. It's easy enough to add to your cooking or add it afterwards on top of your cooking, and it really would be beneficial in helping to support healthy blood sugar levels. Now, the next ingredient on our list is dates. We know that dates are a dried fruit, so they're higher in concentration in natural sugars. However, even if you are pre-diabetic or diabetic, you could have a little bit, not more than 3 a day, and I wouldn't suggest that you even have them every day. But just to add a little bit of sweetness to this salad, we have our dates chopped up here. I believe that the recipe has been shared with you or will be shared with you, so you'll have all the amounts shortly if you don't have them already. I did chop up the dates already, and I'm adding them to the salad. And then I was thinking, as an alternative to the dates, we could also have added raisins. If you don't care for dates, you could have added dried mango, any kind of dried fruit, really. You could have added the little mandarins sections, whether they were canned or fresh. Of course, if they're canned, you want to get the juice or water pack and drain them before you add them. But it's really to add just a little bit of sweetness to the salad. Now, as I said, we need to consume the dates in moderation if you do have diabetes or you're watching your blood glucose levels. They do have high amounts of antioxidants in them as well. And they do have, because they're so high in fiber, they have a lower glycemic index, which is a positive thing. They have some magnesium, potassium, copper, manganese, vitamins A and B. So far you see we've got a bowl full of vitamins and nutrients and fiber right now going on here. So just remember, though, that you can always substitute. And I encourage people to own the recipe. Make it your own. If you don't care for the wheat berries, use another whole grain. If you don't care necessarily for the Brussels sprouts, you could easily use something like broccoli in this recipe. You could use cauliflower. You have to be creative and not be afraid to experiment and try a little bit. So now that we have all our ingredients in the bowl together, we're going to make up our dressing. So in here, I have the lemon juice. I have some Dijon mustard. Okay, I'm going to add those to my bowl. I have, and basically it's Dijon mustard, lemon juice, and a little bit of olive oil. And then we stir that up. And of course, I'm going to eyeball this we want to mix this up. Put a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. Now, what do we know about olive oil? Olive oil is good on many different levels for many different reasons. And Lifespan is fortunate to collaborate with one of our dietitians, Mary Flynn, who's done a lot of research on extra virgin olive oil. And she's one of the gurus on extra virgin olive oil. And so extra virgin olive oil is a monounsaturated fat, and it includes an ingredient called oleic acid, which is high in anti-inflammatory properties and actually promotes balanced blood sugar as well. The research suggests that monounsaturated fats positively influence your blood sugar levels and insulin secretion compared to saturated fats. Now, a saturated fat would be anything that would be hardened. Think of things like Crisco, butter, things like that. We also know that the Mediterranean diet is very beneficial in reducing type 2 diabetes and in basically overall improving your metabolic health. The Mediterranean diet is not only high in fruits and vegetables and whole grains and lean proteins, but also extra virgin olive oil. So we want to keep that in mind as well. So now I'm going to add my dressing to my salad here. Sometimes, and I will tell you that I have found that in many cases, when I've made some of the whole grain recipes, that on the dressing side, if it's a salad, they tend to sometimes be a little bit dry. So I might increase the amount of dressing that I would make. This seems to be moistening the salad pretty well. So that's not too bad. All right, now on the top, I'm going to add my sliced almonds. And of course, almonds are a good source of protein as well. You could, if you're not a crazy almond eater, you could have walnuts, you could have pecans, you could add any kind of nut that you prefer. Now, if you're going to have this warm, if you prefer to have it warm, you would want to add your almonds as you serve it because you don't want them to get all soggy from, heating them up. In the meantime, if you're going to have it as a salad and you like them really crunchy and you're not going to immediately eat it, you might want to also add them as you have the salad. So far we're looking like this. Looks pretty good. Now I could see this on a holiday table if you wanted to add a little bit of red pepper to it to make a nice little color in there, or you could even put some tomatoes as well. Now I have a block of Parmesan cheese and it calls for shards of Parmesan. So basically I'm just going to take my potato peeler and I'm going to make little shreds of the Parmesan cheese, which is very easy. You could also grate it if you prefer. Okay. And we would add this to the top. I'm going to put just a little bit because I'm thinking as well that this is something that you might want to add as a topping to your salad, just so that it stays and retains its texture. And, we're not using so much that we know that cheeses are higher in sodium and the full fat cheeses have a little more fats in them, but we're only putting it almost as a garnish and to add a little extra flavor. So here we have it, our wheat berry and shredded Brussels sprout salad. And I'm happy to entertain any questions if there's any time left. I'm not sure how we're doing for time. It looks like we're pretty close to the end. I hope you try it and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Great job with that, Jeanette. I mean, the timing, we didn't give you very much time to do a whole cooking demonstration, but you handled it beautifully. Thank you, Anna, too, for introducing Jeanette. And Jeanette, I'm looking forward to trying this recipe. I just wanted to let everybody know that the recipe will be posted on our website at RIWDD.org. I appreciate all the great tips you provided, Jeanette, especially about cooking the wheat berries, because I'm not really familiar with that. And the other thing is the variations that you gave us to try as well. That's very, very helpful, because not everybody likes the same things. And it's always good to change it up a little bit to our tastes.
I think we have to remember too, just really quickly, is because when you say the word vegetarian, everybody goes, I'm not a vegetarian. It's very easy to eat. You could add to this, some shredded up chicken that you have left in the fridge, or if you have a little bit of fish or tuna, make it your own. Like I said, don't be afraid to experiment. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Maybe even some turkey after Thanksgiving, right?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Sure.
Very good. Thank you, Jeanette. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Appreciate it so much. So just a reminder, everybody, you can find the recipe on RIWDD.org. And let's light up the chat box and thank Jeanette for her cooking demonstration. So that brings us to our next break. And please be back here at 11:25 for our next segment. Can't wait to get to this part too. This is a good part as well. We're going to have a video, but I'll talk to you at 11:25. See you then. Thank you. And we are back again. I just wanted to share a couple of Rhode Island Diabetes Day facts with you. One is diabetes is expensive for all patients, no matter their insurance status. Rhode Island adults with diabetes report frequent financial strain. In fact, 44.5% of Rhode Island adults with diabetes worried about affording nutritious meals in the past year. The COVID-19 pandemic is likely causing more of a financial strain on our state's underserved residents. Please visit our website, RIWDD.org, for more resources. And also, one more fact I think I have for you. I'm glad that you're all still with us. Thank you for that. And this last fact I'd like to share with you is, did you know that in 2018, 10.9% of Rhode Island adults reported a diagnosis of diabetes? That's 1 in 10 adults, not including people who are undiagnosed. Even after adjusting for age, diabetes in Rhode Island has more than doubled in the past generation. The prevalence was 4.6% in 1995 compared to 9.7% in 2018. Astonishing, right? But that's why we're here today. So many people have been able to access the care and tools they need to live their healthiest lives. And with all your help, we can help connect even more people to care, to lifestyle coaching and other supports to prevent and manage diabetes. So, speaking of prevention and support, the Lifespan Community Health Institute has graciously prepared a video for us today to share with you. The video emphasizes testimonials and tips for diabetes prevention and for diabetes management. So Mark, you may take it away and play the video. Thank you.
Diabetes has a very significant impact on a person's health. Primarily, it can result in increased risk for heart attacks and stroke, and also it can result in blindness and kidney problems. The emphasis for our pre-diabetics is on prevention and helping them avoid the onset of full-blown diabetes.
I had been told by my physician that I was pre-diabetic. My A1C level was 5.8, and I was right on the cusp of becoming diabetic. My doctor had told me I really needed to consider some lifestyle changes.
The Diabetes Prevention Program at the Lifespan Community Health Institute is a year-long program that focuses on lifestyle changes for healthy eating, physical activity, communication, better sleep, lifestyle changes that will reduce your risk for type 2 diabetes.
Sometimes they come because the doctor said, and sometimes they learn about the program.
Regular exercise, that includes 30 minutes of aerobic exercise, 5 days a week is a minimum.
You can do 15 and 15, or even you can do 10, 10, and 10.
And also modifying your diet to be more plant-based and less saturated fats.
We got recipes on how to make and a demonstration on how to make cauliflower pizza.
Because it's a year-long program, the changes are going to be very slow and gradual, and that's what makes this program work. So by making those small changes, it's more sustainable. So it could be, my goal this week is just to research gyms. That is a great goal. And then within a month, they might be going to the gym once a week.
I tell them, so this will be a beautiful journey. Now we don't know each other, but at the end, we will be as a family.
I really am a social person, so knowing that I wasn't alone doing this really helped me a lot.
The group dynamic is very important because everyone in the group is facing a similar challenge and trying to reach a similar goal.
So I just sort of felt this incredible sense of support that you don't feel when you try to do something on your own.
The diabetes prevention program has been offered virtually, and I find that it's been pretty successful. I wasn't sure how it was going to work out.
Getting enough sleep can help you prevent or delay type 2 diabetes.
But it's worked out pretty well.
It was so wonderful for me because I would have had to drive to Providence 40 minutes from my home to meet with everyone. And now with technology and Zoom available, it made it possible through the pandemic for me to achieve my goals while being at home.
We've had participants that have taken the classes from their kids' baseball game or baseball practice. Someone was in Florida, so versus having to miss it, they actually joined, which is nice.
So now that I'm almost done with the program, I have an A1C level of 5.5, and I'm really excited that I've been able to move myself out of the pre-diabetic range, and I'm not really on the cusp of diabetes any longer. I have a much healthier lifestyle, and I'm really following through with things and more determined now than before.
Our approach to patients that have already been diagnosed with diabetes is very intense. There are several screening tests we regularly check, and some patients are referred to specialty care.
As a certified diabetes educator, I work one-on-one with patients who have diabetes to create a highly individualized and unique diabetes therapy management for that particular individual. I go over 3 very important parts that each play a critical role in diabetes management. One is diet and making sure that we are eating certain foods in moderation, avoiding high carbohydrate foods or foods that are high in refined sugars or processed foods, and increasing our intake of vegetables and more plant-based foods. We also talk about physical activity. It's important to stay moving to burn off all that extra sugar that we might be carrying. And then lastly, medications, which may or may not play a role with a patient depending on where they are on their journey for diabetes. What works for one patient may not work for another patient, and what may work for one patient on day 1 may not work for that same patient months or years later. So that's why it's critical for patients to continue to follow up with their healthcare team to make sure that the diabetes does continue to stay in control.
I've been in practice for about 25 years, and if I was going to give a message to folks that have either pre-diabetes or diabetes, is to let them know that they're at risk of dying from a heart attack. So when I become concerned about the patient's diabetes, my primary goal is to avoid that terrible outcome. So it's really important to follow the guidelines that include significant lifestyle modifications as a common sense approach to this scourge that we have in our country.
Thank you, Mark, for playing that video for us. That was a great video. I'd like to send out a special thank you to Randy Beaver and Elena Falcone-Relvis from the Marketing and Communications Department at Lifespan Community Health Institute for all their hard work in putting together this video. Please, let's light up the chat box to thank them for this video. I know they put a lot of work and effort into it. Diabetes and prediabetes are so prevalent, and I hope everyone out there realizes there is support and resources in Rhode Island. Again, visit our website. We have a whole list of resources available. You'll find the information there, and the website is RIWDD.org. And please share what you have learned and what can help others on social media. Just share your information. Help us get the word out about these important topics and resources to everyone in Rhode Island. Okay, now moving on with the last half hour or so or less of today's program, please take a moment to recognize our sponsors who made this day possible and perhaps give them a shout out in our chat box. We had a slide with them listed, and I know I listed all of them earlier, but please send a shout out to all our sponsors. I also wanted to remind you that the Providence State House will still be lit up in blue today and tomorrow. So if you happen to go by there, check it out. That's in honor of World Diabetes Day. It came out really nice. It looks beautiful. So let's hear from you in our chat box. If you have seen it, let us know. But we'll move on with our program. And I can't say enough good things about our next presenters. They, along with our challenge committee, were instrumental in developing, initiating, and administering the Rhode Island World Diabetes Day 2021 Road to Wellness Challenge. Jennifer Fine served as the chair of our 2021 Road to Wellness Challenge Committee. Jen is a registered dietitian, nutritionist with over 20 years of experience counseling clients to make positive lifestyle changes. She is a certified diabetes outpatient educator. She's a tobacco cessation specialist and behavior change facilitator. Currently employed by Optum Workplace Wellbeing, Jennifer coaches employees at Electric Boat here in Rhode Island to achieve their personal health and wellness goals. And Kelsey Tucker currently occupies the position of the Community Health Network Manager within the Diabetes, Heart Disease, and Stroke Program at the Rhode Island Department of Health, where she has been since 2018. She has extensive experience in delivering and managing community and place-based public health initiatives across a variety of settings. Kelsey graduated magna cum laude with her Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from Endicott College in Beverly, Mass, and went on to complete her Master's of Science in Nonprofit Management at Northeastern University, where she concentrated her studies on leadership. And before you start with the award announcements, Jen and Kelsey, let me recognize the other committee members as well, because this committee was great. It was a great committee to be part of, and I appreciated all the help and time that everybody gave. So a big shout out to Holly Maloney, Caitlin Ferreira-Kisla, and Gail Deiter for their fantastic contributions. And so now, Jen and Kelsey, drum roll. We can't wait to hear the results of the 2021 Road to Wellness Challenge. I mean, this is great. None of us know. This is really good. So let's hear it.
All right, thanks, Deb. We're so excited to be here today and to announce the winners of the 2021 Rhode Island World Diabetes Day Road to Wellness Challenge. That's a bit of a mouthful. Our challenge this year was a 4-week challenge focused on building healthy habits. And we had 95 members participating in the challenge. So we thank all of you for joining in and participating, and hope that you enjoyed many of the different activities offered each week. We also hope that you will continue on the path to building healthy habits, one small step at a time. So all winners will receive an email asking for your address. Please send that in so that we can send you your gift card in the mail. And now for our winners. So we're awarding a prize for people who submitted a survey for week 1. And if Kelsey, you want to go ahead and spin the wheel and draw the first winner.
Great. And you can you see the wheel as full screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I still may need help reading the. All right, it looks like the arrow is stopping and we have a winner. Congratulations to Suzanne Yarush. You've won $25 gift card. Congratulations. All right, are we ready to choose a winner for week 2?
Great, here we go. Oh. Nope, why is that is the wrong. Let's move to week 3 and then I will pull up.
Back. Okay, so this is week 3. Winner, Juliet. Oh.
Okay, we're gonna move to week 3 and then we'll go back to week 2.
Okay. All right, congratulations. This is Carmelita Bizignani has won the prize for week 3. And now we're going to work backwards. That also is a $25 gift card.
Okay, here is week 2.
Week 2. That one's colorful. All right, spin her around. All right, congratulations. We have a winner. Kathleen Richardson has won a $25 gift card for submitting week 2 survey. And now I believe we're back to week 4.
Yes.
All right, so a winner for week 4. All right, Lena Roman, you are the winner of a $25 gift card for week 4 of the Road to Wellness Challenge. All right, and now we have a grand prize. Will win a $100 gift card.
Yeah, let me stop sharing my screen and pull that up.
All right. And I believe this is for the greatest participation.
Correct. Just going to pull up my document. Okay. So the winner of the participation prize is here we go. It is, sorry, Google's taking a little bit to load. Okay, so the winner of the participation prize is Kathleen Richardson.
Congratulations. All right, and I want to just remind you that you're all winners. Making positive lifestyle changes is not easy, but it has big rewards. And so thank you all for participating and wishing you continued success in your journey.
Thank you so much. That was like Wheel of Fortune. I was waiting for somebody to lose a turn or something. Yeah. That's great. Thanks so much. I can't thank you guys enough for doing this. This is really, really great. So do we have a winner for the survey though yet, Kelsey?
Yeah, so I have another wheel that we can spin for that. Let me go back to sharing.
So this prize is awarded, the raffle is drawn from everybody who returned the survey at the end of the challenge.
Here we go.
Correct, and this is a $50 winner.
And Melissa O'Brien. Congratulations and thank you for giving us your feedback.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Thank you, girls. That was great.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it so much. I mean, the challenge was a lot of work and everybody really chipped in from that committee. I keep saying thank you to them. I don't think that's enough, but they really did a great job with it. And now on to our next portion, which is the introduction of the Blue Light Award. So keep lighting up the chat box as we congratulate all of our winners for the challenge, and show applause and congratulations. That's always good for them to see. And just a reminder for the people that did win, I will need your email. I will need you to email me at info at RIWDD.org. That way I can find out what your address is and we can mail out your prizes to you. So please remember to do that, okay? I want to make sure I get the prizes out to you. So great. Thanks again, Jen. Thanks, Kelsey. And then let's keep lighting up the chat box with congratulations. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Representative Grace Diaz, who will be awarding the Grace Diaz Blue Light Award. Grace Diaz is a dedicated public servant and has been the state representative in Rhode Island's District 11 since 2004. Born in the Dominican Republic, she came to Providence in 1990 with only $40 and 2 dresses. She was determined to succeed in her new homeland for herself and for her 5 children. In 2004, she became the first Dominican American woman elected to state office in United States history. Since then, she has fought for legislation on issues facing women, children, and minorities, affordable housing, education, gun restriction, fair election participation, reform for the criminal justice system, and immigration issues. Since she was elected, she advocates to have diabetes awareness and resources for Rhode Island residents. In 2006, she established the first Rhode Island World Diabetes Awareness Day to bring more light to this important issue. Just this year, she worked with the General Assembly to reduce the cost of insulin for diabetes patients. We are truly fortunate to have Representative Grace Diaz serving on our committee and as an advocate for diabetes in the state of Rhode Island. Grace?
Thank you so much for this amazing, nice introduction, Deborah. It's my pleasure to work with you and join so many Rhode Islanders today to celebrate Rhode Island World Diabetes Day. It is with gratitude and appreciation that I extend our thanks to Rhode Islanders for sharing this day with us as we come together to raise awareness about diabetes and pre-diabetes. We know that this chronic condition continues to pose a great health risk to so many Rhode Islanders, as you heard this morning from our esteemed speakers. And let me tell you that I was really touching my heart to listen the first one, very young speaker in the program, and how he spoke about his challenge facing diabetes type 1. It was amazing to see how navigating every day to be healthy and be a role model for others. Before I announce the recipient of this year, Grace Diaz Blue Light Award, I'm very honored that be in my name. I would like to share some important information with you. Each year, funds raised from Rhode Island World Diabetes Day has been donated to an organization that has made a difference in diabetes awareness, prevention, and care within the state of Rhode Island. In keeping with the international theme for World Diabetes Day, access to diabetes care, this year, this great committee has decided to use these funds to provide more diabetes education opportunities to Rhode Islanders who do not have health insurance coverage for diabetes education. And we thank to our sponsor for supporting this important effort to help bridges this critical gap this year. Also, thank you to all the panelists, the organizers, the volunteers, all the people behind doors that are working so hard to provide Rhode Island this amazing event. But the most beautiful thing is to all of the members of the Rhode Island Diabetes team for putting this amazing event leading by our Deborah Newell. To learn how you can receive diabetes education by working with one of the certified diabetes educators and take advantage of this important new opportunity, please get in touch with our community health network on the CHN, as we call it. The Rhode Island Parent Information Network website is where you can find the CHN's information that web address is RIPIN.org/CHN. I will repeat that again, RIPIN.org/CHN. Or you can call the CHN at 401-432-7217. Each year during World Diabetes Day, we recognize and celebrate an individual or an organization that has made a positive difference in diabetes prevention and care in the state of Rhode Island by awarding the Grace Diaz Blue Light Award. The criteria for this year's selection were commitment to health and well-being of people living with diabetes, and exhibiting a devotion to improving the health of the community. It is therefore my honor and pleasure to announce that this year award recipient is Dr. Fadi Mensorati, a primary care physician at the Fallon Primary Care in North Providence, Rhode Island. Dr. Mensorati had actually received 4 nominations. One of those individuals wrote it. Dr. Mensorati constantly strives for excellence. As a physician, he is always going above and beyond for his patients. He is committed to his patients and helping them maintenance and improve their health. He believes in education and educating his patients while working with them to help them achieve their best possible health. He offers group classes for individuals with diabetes and their family members at his office. In addition to education from the interdisciplinary team, the class features a group open forum discussion to discuss and improve skills in dealing with the daily challenge of living with diabetes. As maybe you don't know, our Governor Dan McKee office will prepare an amazing citation for you, Dr. Mensorati. And the citation, we read it. You play a vital role in providing care and support to Rhode Islanders living with diabetes in every aspect of your work, from team-based care to educating patients and offering group classes for diabetes during the pandemic. Your dedication, Dr. Mensorati, your commitment to excellence and compassion are evident. That is why you are our Grace Diaz Blue Light Award recipient. So Dr. Mensorati, on behalf of this amazing Rhode Island World Diabetes Day committee, on behalf of Rhode Islanders who appreciate all the work you have done, and also on behalf of your own state representative, Dr. Arthur Corbesi from North Providence, we want to thank you and congratulate you for everything you do for patients, for your profession, and for the state of Rhode Island. Congratulations, and I hope at some point I can shake your hands because you deserve a lot of recognitions. Thank you, Deb.
Congratulations, Dr. Mensorati. Wow. Well deserved. That's all I can say. Very well deserved. Your team and yourself do such a wonderful job. It's such great accomplishments. We thank you for your dedication and service. And today we celebrate you. Congratulations. Now everybody light up the chat box for Dr. Mensorati, congratulating him. Oh, look at, there's much applause for you in our chat box, Dr. Mensorati. And thank you, Representative Diaz, for announcing our winner today and for your involvement with diabetes awareness in the state of Rhode Island. It's so much appreciated. Now, what a morning this has been. We hope you enjoyed Rhode Island's virtual World Diabetes Day. This is our second year doing virtual. I'm also here today with my co-chair, Megan Fallon, who has some final words for you. Megan?
Thank you, Debbie. I agree with you. What a morning it's been. And thank you all for joining us today. Thanks, Debbie, for being our MC today and for co-chairing this event with me. I simply could not have done this without you. From day one, you've jumped in with both feet, helping to coordinate every single aspect of today's event. It's coworkers like you who make these events such a success. Rhode Island World Diabetes Day has become so important in raising awareness about diabetes in Rhode Island, especially now during the pandemic. It means so much to so many. I want to take a moment to thank Nancy Sutton for her inspiring words this morning. We so appreciate you joining us today to kick off our event, and we thank you for all the great work you are doing at the Rhode Island Department of Health pertaining to the prevention and management of chronic disease and overall promoting good health in the state of Rhode Island. We're also so happy that Representative Grace Diaz could join us today. Representative Diaz has been such a great advocate and supporter for World Diabetes Day in Rhode Island for so many years. Thank you, Representative Diaz. Your involvement and participation is so appreciated. And where would we be without the support of our sponsors? The Rhode Island Department of Health, Diabetes Education Partners of Rhode Island, the Certified Diabetes Outpatient Educators, Rhode Island Parent Information Network, Neighborhood Health Plan of Rhode Island, Novo Nordisk, Dexcom, AstraZeneca, Xeris Pharmaceuticals, and Prevention Bio. We appreciate you. Thank you again to all of our speakers who provided outstanding presentations filled with a variety of great information. Keep in mind, everyone, these presentations will still be available on YouTube and Facebook for viewing at your own convenience. I'd like to express my gratitude to all the members of our planning committee. You will find all their names listed on this slide. Thank you all. And now I want to acknowledge Tracy Tavera. Tracy did a fantastic job representing Rhode Island World Diabetes Day on NBC 10 with her myths and facts presentations. Thank you, Tracy. This might become a new career for you, anchor host. Let's give another shout out to Jennifer Fine and Kelsey Tucker for their tremendous work and all that they've done for the 2021 Rhode Island Road to Wellness Challenge. Believe me when I tell you, they both did a lot of work on this for 4 weeks leading up to today's event. As with any conference, there's always someone behind the scenes helping out. You wouldn't be seeing me here today if it wasn't for the outstanding audio, visual, and technology skills of Mark Gray. Thank you so much, Mark. You've truly been a lifesaver. Now, for those of you at home, if you are looking for resources or information or would like to become part of the Rhode Island World Diabetes Day Planning Committee or even become a sponsor, please email me at info@riwdd.org. So the email again is info@riwdd.org. I thank you all for being with us for our second virtual Rhode Island World Diabetes Day event. Hopefully you found some practical tips and information that will assist you in laying the foundation for the road to a very healthy life. Stay safe and be well, everyone.
Thank you, Megan. That was so nice. Everyone at home, please light up your chat box with our thanks and appreciation and applause for all of our speakers today. Grace, I wanted to mention, way to represent diabetes awareness by wearing the blue today. And also I want to send a thank you to Mark as well, because our pictures would be crooked. You wouldn't be able to hear us. We would have funny faces. It just wouldn't have worked out well at all. But thank you, Mark. You are really went above and beyond, and we so appreciate all your help for today and previous every day. So thank you everyone for attending the 2021 Rhode Island World Diabetes Day event. The event has ended, but our work with all of you has not. Please be sure to visit our website. I say it again, RIWDD.org, to learn more about diabetes, to learn about this important day, and to learn about tools you can use to prevent diabetes, manage diabetes, and live your healthiest, best lives. Please share these important resources with others on social media and in your workplaces and organizations. Thank you, everyone. Be safe and stay well, Rhode Island.